What does tf.nn.embedding_lookup function do? I cannot understand the duty of this function. Is it like a lookup table? Which means to return the parameters corresponding to each ID, in IDs. For instance, in the skip-gram model, if we use tf.nn.embedding_lookup embeddings, train_inputs, then for each train_input it finds the corresponding embedding.
Embedding_lookup function retrieves rows of the params tensor. The behavior is similar to using indexing with arrays in NumPy. For example, params argument can be also a list of tensors, in which case the IDs will be distributed among the tensors. For example, given a list of 3 tensors, 2, 64, the default behavior is that they will represent IDs 0, 3, 1, 4, 2, 5. Partition_strategy controls the way how the IDs are distributed among the list. The partitioning is useful for larger scale problems when the matrix might be too large to keep in one piece.
Yes, this function is hard to understand, until you get the point. In its simplest form, it is similar to tf.gather. It returns the elements of params according to the indexes specified by IDs. For example, assuming you are inside tf.interactive session, would return 10, 20, 30, 40, because the first element, index 0, of params is 10, the second element of params, index 1, is 20, etc. Similarly, would return 20, 20, 40. But embedding_lookup is more than that. The params argument can be a list of tensors, rather than a single tensor. In such a case, the indexes, specified in IDs, correspond to elements of tensors according to a partition strategy, where the default partition strategy is mod. In the mod strategy, index 0 corresponds to the first element of the first tensor in the list. Index 1 corresponds to the first element of the second tensor. Index 2 corresponds to the first element of the third tensor, and so on. Simply index I corresponds to the first element of the I+1 th tensor, for all the indexes 0, n1, assuming params is a list of n tensors. Now, index n cannot correspond to tensor n+1, because the list params contains only n tensors. So index n corresponds to the second element of the first tensor. Similarly, index n+1 corresponds to the second element of the second tensor, etc. So, in the code, index 0 corresponds to the first element of the first tensor, 1. Index 1 corresponds to the first element of the second tensor, 10. Index 2 corresponds to the second element of the first tensor, 2. Index 3 corresponds to the second element of the second tensor, 20. Thus, the result would be
Yes, the purpose of tf.nn.embedding_lookup function is to perform a lookup in the embedding matrix and return the embeddings, or in simple terms the vector representation, of words. A simple embedding matrix, of shape, vocabulary_size x embedding_dimension, would look like below.
i.e. each word will be represented by a vector of numbers, hence the name word2vec. Embedding matrix. I split the above embedding matrix and loaded only the words in vocab, which will be our vocabulary, and the corresponding vectors in an array. Embedding lookup in TensorFlow. Now we will see how can we perform embedding lookup for some arbitrary input sentence. Observe how we got the embeddings from our original embedding matrix, with words, using the indices of words in our vocabulary. Usually, such an embedding lookup is performed by the first layer, called embedding layer, which then passes these embeddings to rnn/lstm/gru layers for further processing. Side note, usually the vocabulary will also have a special UNC token. So, if a token from our input sentence is not present in our vocabulary, then the index corresponding to UNC will be looked up in the embedding matrix. PS note that embedding _dimension is a hyperparameter that one has to tune for their application, but popular models like word2vec and glove uses 300 dimension vector for representing each word. Bonus reading word2vec skip gram model.
Here's an image depicting the process of embedding lookup. Concisely, it gets the corresponding rows of embedding layer, specified by a list of IDs, and provide that as a tensor. It is achieved through the following process. Define a placeholder, lookup _ equals tf.placeholder. 10. Define an embedding layer, embeddings equals tf.variable 100,10. ... Define the tensorflow operation. Embed _lookup equals tf.embedding _lookup embeddings. Lookup _ids, get the results by running. Lookup equals session.run embed _lookup. Feed _dict equals lookup _ids column. 95,4,14.
If you want to see more, please consider subscribing.